Hey guys, I'm Davey Wavey, creator of the gay erotic website Himeros.tv. And today I'm joined by sex and intimacy coach Finn Deerhart and my boyfriend Chad. And today we're talking about gay sex, and in particular, fucking with your whole body. And that's whole, WHOLE, to clarify, not. We know enough about your HOLE. Let's get started.
Your HOLE body.
Himeros Live is sponsored by Himeros.tv. Created by Davey Wavey, Himeros.tv is a website that inspires the best gay sex of your life through explicit erotic videos. Himeros.tv films are designed by a team of gay sex experts for increased pleasure, deeper connections, and a whole lot more fun. Join the revolution at himeros.tv/pod and save 20%. Himeros.tv, it's like porn,
but better.
but better.
but
but better. Yes. Hey guys.
Hey buddy.
Hey.
How are you guys?
I'm doing great.
Can we just take a moment? I know you guys are listening on the audio version of the podcast, but doesn't Chad look so cute?
He does.
Oh my gosh, girl. Look who's talking.
I got my hair cut today. I feel like every time I get my hair cut, I look a little bit more like my Pepe, like my grandfather.
Yeah.
Pepe. I think we all become our Pepes.
It's French. Yeah, I got a Pepe.
Nice.
What do you have?
I have a pawpaw in Alabama. And I have a deceased grandfather.
Oh, actually, both of mine are dead, but yeah.
And you're looking like them now?
So, any updates? Congratulations on graduating.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It was big steps, you know, on to the next.
Does it feel like, what does it feel like?
It really hasn't hit me yet.
Right.
I'm still in Amherst with a couple of my friends. Like my closest friends are still around. But in a few short days, I'll be off in California with Dave. So I think it'll probably hit me then when I say goodbye for like the last time.
Everything's different now. Yeah.
It's intense.
Yeah, you're gonna be able to take care of me crying.
Oh.
Yeah, I've got a big bosom that you can kind of like snuggle into.
Oh, perfect. That's all I need.
It will help me fulfill my daddy fantasies by comforting you, nurturing you.
Everything you want and more.
Like, and while you're down there, give it a lick or two.
Yeah.
So Finn,
this is great. I'm like getting to witness the foreplay. It's already starting.
Enough about us.
The foreplay's always on.
Oh, congratulations, Chad.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Finn, I want to hear about your tantra date.
Finn.
Tell us about it.
Oh yeah, so that was really awesome. Oh wow, what a life-changing experience for me. It was.
So this was with Will Tantra?
Yeah, and you know what? So, okay. I did have some fear going. You get ready, you buckle. I had some fear going into this, like what, is this going to expose some thing about me that I can't really, I don't know. It's just, uncertain of the unknown. And what was the most awesome part about it? Well, there's multiple things. The fact that I've never been in a situation like that before, where it wasn't like just people having sex. Like there was another person in the room. He's facilitating in this way, and he's being sexual with us.
Give us the setup. Give us the setup. So what?
It's no. You just have to guess. Yeah. So okay. So we get there. So I don't know if you're just also too, if you're just tuning into this and listening for, you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. My boyfriend and I had like, what is he talking about? A tantric foreplay date with Will Tantra. He's a teacher here in San Francisco, and he's one of my buddies and
friend of the pod.
Yeah, and he teaches a lot of really cool stuff and kind of a different space than what I teach, but also some overlapping things. So for a long time, I wanted to connect with him in that way, and it just took a while for me and my boyfriend to want to really go into that space, I think. And so both my partner and I have had lots of sex and with groups and things, and that's it's very different. So that's what was so elucidating for me about this experience as we get there. And it's like almost, I guess, there's more space for all the parts of you to show up. So it's not like you have to just put on your your sex mask and go into a space and do your thing. It's like there's you're being emotionally open, you're being like vulnerable. He was teaching, there's an undressing ritual that we did initially, and it's just like kind of like moving around with each other, like dancing with each other, like taking they, 2-on-1 or taking your clothes off, and you've got your eyes closed, and it was an intimate process. And so by the time we're all naked, it was already, that took a while. So like we already had a level of comfort, like it just felt very natural to be naked with him, and just almost like
so all three of you were naked.
Yeah. And it just felt super normal, like just having boners and just like hanging out. And so even before this even happened, so I had a conversation with Will on the phone, like maybe 4 days before, and he called me and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, actually, I'm playing with myself right now." And I was like, self-pleasuring. And he was like, "Great. So just keep your hand on your cock, and I want to talk to you. And I'm going to put my hand on my cock, and we're just going to talk about, our intentions for Saturday night." And I just immediately had this like, "Oh, yes, sir." So I kept my hand there and just shared with him, but it wasn't like we were like sex talking. He was just like talking to me about what was going on for me and what my intentions for the night was. And it just was in a way in my own body, like an experience of like connecting my heart and my dick, like this wasn't just like solely a sex pursuit, or it wasn't just some kind of intimacy thing. It was an overlap. And even though I teach stuff about that, this was just a big aha for me. And at his house, we did some rituals where Sam and I would sit and face each other, and he taught us all these different cock strokes that we were doing, and we just had to keep like looking into each other's eyes and breathing, and just we're pleasuring each other for a really long time through these different strokes. And like you're working yourself up into this like state where at some point, the idea is to like, lose body consciousness and just be in the experience and just be energy and movement and breath and sound. And it changed a lot for Sam and me. And even since then, we've had some experiences that felt like I was on psychedelics, where I just was like, is this possible? I started crying and like laughing, and like it was just like all because of having this experience, and kind of felt like I was ready for it. And I highly recommend the work. That's a lot, but yeah. Questions?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds really powerful.
You can tell I'm excited, huh?
Yeah.
I had this moment of like, this is what I've been looking for, because it was like more parts of me. It's like there's space for the lust, there was space for my heart, there's my feelings, all this stuff. And then we're having, sexual contact with each other with this other man, but it wasn't like just a 3-way or, like a group sex situation where you like put parts of yourself away and just do the thing. It was just like, I don't know. I just felt I was like under tutelage. And I also felt like there were parts of me that already knew a lot of this, that were just waiting to like have a permission to express. And so that's what happened for me.
I think like the scene that you're describing, and like the way that you're describing expressing yourself, like laughing, crying, like I think it's so foreign for the depiction of sex that most of us are used to seeing, that it's like almost hard to connect with the imagery. And
right.
One of the videos that we filmed in this last shoot that we did in Joshua Tree is with Chris Harder and Wesley Woods. And it's the scene where Chris like expresses his devotion to Wesley, and like validates him and tells him he's beautiful and loved. And Wesley starts crying, and then they go into this like really like powerful masturbation thing. And like Wesley starts laughing and crying and screaming, and like, and what we really struggled with was like how much of that we wanted to show, because like I think if we showed how deep, how like fully expressive it went, that like people would just think that this video is fucking crazy and like be really put off by it. So I found us like kind of holding back on like how powerful it was, because I don't know if everyone's ready to see that.
Yeah, and I totally hear that.
Yeah.
Wait, say that again, Chad.
The meaning of the video could get lost in translation if you give them like too much to digest at once.
Yeah. And they'd say like this isn't accessible for me. Like, okay, I was with you, but guys, this just got too fucking weird. And you like end up turning someone off to it.
Yeah, and I totally hear that. And I also feel like that sucks, because I want everyone to feel that level of permission, but I get it, sometimes it's too much for people in the morning when I'm just like so happy and like beaming at them. It's not even sexual. They're like, God, I can't handle this. But I think when it comes to sex, we put a lot of ourselves aside and we're just really acting a lot out of like narrow parts of us sometimes. And making space for, we're complex beings and there's a lot of stuff going on. So it's like, if I throw everything about myself into an experience, there's going to be a lot of stuff there that's not like the image of sex, Oh no, the cops are coming.
Yeah, I called the police. I was like, arrest this deviant.
This is fucking weird.
Put her away.
Right.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Ooh, excuse you. So, in other news, I just got back from Los Angeles. I was there for one night, and I filmed a video with Blake Mitchell. And it was him reacting to some of the Himeros.tv videos that we filmed with older guys, like the 70 plus crowd. So I think the title is going to be like Porn Star Reacts to Elders Having Sex. I'm hoping to have it up tomorrow. And I think when people click it, like the expectation that they're bringing to the table is that this like young, quote unquote hot porn star is going to be totally put off and grossed out by like all these old guys having sex. And obviously like that's not the video I recorded. That's not the case. And what we did end up having was a really good conversation about why we don't see more older guys in porn and what that says, I guess, both to older guys that don't see themselves and then to younger guys that don't see older guys. And like, I think it tells younger guys that when you're old, like you won't have sex. And I think it kind of encourages some ageism, and it tells older guys when they don't see themselves that like, this isn't for you. And I think there's also an assumption. We don't see a lot of older guys in porn because there's this assumption in studios that people only want to see like the 20-something-year-olds, the 30-something-year-olds. And I've mentioned before, our research on Himeros is that 48% of our audience wants to see men over the age of 50. And I don't know if that's just because our audience in Himeros is what it is, or if there really is this underserved market. So it'll be exciting to see the reaction that video gets. Yeah. But speaking of diversity, I sent you guys an email from Pornhub that I got.
Yeah.
So it's also kind of a, like, I just want to recognize that in this moment we're having a conversation. It's three white guys talking about diversity. So
right. Thanks for acknowledging that. Well, even like what you were just saying about like what Blake watching the older people, and it's like, I think that we have not been had an understanding that sex belongs to us, like it's in us, it's never apart from us. So we're looking for that from externalized places all the time, and external validation, and the idea that older people could have a sexuality like that just defies the assumptions that we live under in the gay community around like who holds all the power. Because if everyone knew that belongs to us and it's available to us inside us, there wouldn't be the need to like other people and like cut it off and like, you don't belong here and you can't have it. This is only mine. And it's not a limited resource.
Yeah. Well, Chad, what were you telling me this morning about the porn? You were searching for porn today, and do you mind sharing what you told me?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I was going through Pornhub and I was looking at all the videos, and I see this beautiful juicy booty up on the screen. I was like, oh fuck yes. And the title read like BBC barebacks twink. And I just kind of sat there for a moment. I was thinking about it. I was like, if they were two white guys on screen, like there would be no mention of race or anything like that. But how come, like, as I'm scrolling through, I see all of these, anytime there's a person of color in the videos, they like mention the race, and that's like a keyword in the search or in the title. And I was like, do they really fetishize like someone's race as something they like actively seek in porn? And then when we got the list of the most searched terms in Pornhub Premium, the first one was black.
Yeah, the answer is yes. Yes,
the answer is yes, they did. Yeah. And I was just like blown out of the water by that.
Yeah. So for people that didn't get, the email, no one gets this fucking email. But so here's what the keywords were. So there's Pornhub and there's Pornhub Premium. Pornhub Premium, I guess, is like the paid version of Pornhub. So on Pornhub, the top words were Korean, Japanese, Black, curious, straight friends, which just seems like a clunky keyword to type in. Like that's many people are typing in curious, straight friends. Not even curious straight guys, like whatever. And then under that is straight, then twink, then Asian, Chinese, straight guys first time, so on and so forth. BBC is on that list. I think it's like number 12 or 4, whatever it is. It is on the list. And then on Pornhub Premium, number 1 keyword is Black, then straight, then bareback. Curious straight friends appears yet again.
That is a curious phrase.
Yeah, it is.
It never occurred to me. Bareback is obvious. That's been a keyword that I've typed in.
Yeah, but yes, same. But there's a lot of like race related keywords. And so there's 2 things I said to Chad that like kind of immediately came to mind is that like, Chad actually said, I don't think a lot of the people who are searching for Black or like BBC are necessarily doing it for reasons that we'd consider like empowering. It's probably in a way that's, fetishized. And, I don't think it's like, oh, I'm Black and I want to see other Black people like me. It's like, if you're searching BBC, like there's an agenda there.
Yeah, it's a loaded term. It's got all kinds of stuff built into it.
And then the second point is that when you look at most porn sites, there's a real lack of diversity in the models that they cast. And yet, clearly we're seeing that there is a demand, even if, like, mind you, that demand is coming out of motivations that are not particularly empowering. There is a demand to see models who are not just white, right? Like, I mean, how... And I can call myself out on this, that like on Himeros TV, like we've really, 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 really struggled to find Asian models, just in the industry in general. And we're filming with our first Asian American model in another week. And yeah, on both of these lists, we see a lot of Asian related keywords that people are searching for. Again, the motivation might not be super empowering, but there is a demand to see a wider spectrum of guys. That's my thoughts.
I agree. And I have to say, from just like a wider lens that I think about that in all these ways, there are general assumptions in the public, and depends on where you're from. There's no perfect society, but our society and its ideas about, again, who holds power and why. I think, the people have all these assumptions about what it means to be Asian or what it means to be a BBC and then that's, they're looking for the essence of what they're wanting to feel, but they're like stopping at the surface level of this person and the assumption of the stereotype. There's an underlying current that we can all relate to. And I want to know like what they mean when they put in Asian,
right?
From a meaning perspective, what are they wanting to see? Like someone, like, what is that Asian person doing? I mean, they have an assumption about what that looks like. Even that what we're doing next week, Ray, he talks about how people don't want him for like who he really is. They want him to be this like meek little submissive bottom.
And he's
That's not what he is. That's not what he is at all.
Yeah.
So they're wanting to see submission in its most extreme way. I don't know. It's like, it's a bigger thing than just like the person's skin color.
I think that's why it's bizarre to read the commentary that they have like underneath these like keywords, because it's so detached from like I want to know why, like what's going on here, what is this really about? And instead they say things like, this is what they say: Black content continues to rise in popularity on Pornhub Premium. Last quarter, Black overtook bareback on Premium as the top search term, with a significant lead. BBC is also a commonly searched word. And then it says, there's another one. This was my favorite headline: straight people being seduced. A common theme among 5 of our top 25 search results is straight people being seduced. Consider planning scenes with this theme in mind, as there are many relevant keywords that are popular in both straight and gay searches on Pornhub and Pornhub Premium. Like, I can't. Like, I just can't. I can't. Last week we talked about that. Like, we had was it last week we had a question from a guy who was like only into straight guys and like why that is.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, that's all out there. Interesting, food for thought. In other news, we need to talk about any other thoughts about that, or should we move on?
Sure, let's move on. Well, actually, I'll give you a segue. I know where you're headed. Okay. When I type a word into Pornhub, you know what I type in?
Mormon.
Is that a great segue?
Is that really what you type in?
I mean, when I've used Pornhub, yes, because the minimal times that I do that, and I sent you the video, the one that was really awesome.
Chad, what do you type in?
Wink, wink, Mormon boys. Come on.
It depends on my mood.
Okay, but like for example,
I definitely have used keywords like daddy and twink. Bareback appears in there more frequently.
So you like the daddy twink dynamic?
Yeah. Well, wouldn't you say so?
Interesting.
Couldn't have guessed that one.
That's awesome. Have you ever typed in Mormon boys?
Mormon boys have not.
Well, that is a good segue because in other news, we need to talk about Marky Moore. He's a gay porn star that probably a lot of you guys have seen. I forget what studio he's with. I think like Next Door Studio or something. Anyway, this week he quit porn and he started promoting fightthenewdrug.org, which is a Mormon-owned... See, there's the connection. A Mormon-owned anti-porn website. So here's what he says. I've quit porn because I can no longer promote lustful and deviant behavior. Lust is a monster, and the more you feed it, the hungrier it becomes. Sounds like my whole side note. That was me. That wasn't him. He didn't say that. I thought that was funny. Okay. I've shown absolutely no hate whatsoever. If you think this, then you're either confused and or misinformed. I've witnessed porn destroy numerous people, friendships, relationships, families, etc. It does more harm than good for people. I'm assuming when he says it destroys families, he means like telling his mom that he does porn and then she disowns him, right?
It's hard
like
to
that.
say. Yeah.
Yeah. In that situation, I'd say, well, the issue isn't the porn, it's people's perceptions around it. Anyway, but unfortunately, telling people you fantasize real love isn't something a studio wants you to say. So instead, I told lies, not even good ones either. I sincerely apologize for misleading you. I will only speak truth from this point forward. So needless to say, he obviously received like a shitstorm of backlash for this. Yeah. And I sent the article to Chad, and you were like, there's just a lot to like get into in that. I think you were a little...
It's a lot to unpack for sure.
There is. So I direct messaged Mark to see if he wanted to come on the podcast. So here he is. No, I'm kidding.
Oh God, I would love that.
Yeah, I think it would actually... It would be interesting. You know what? Like, what I've learned from sex and intimacy coach Finn Dearhart is to react with compassion when people do certain things and say certain things. And on one hand, I want to say this is the most ridiculous bullshit that I've ever heard, like at least all day, if not all week. But on the other hand, I'm also really curious to understand how he came to this decision. So I want you guys to weigh in. Here's my 2 cents. For what it's worth is like, I do think there are a lot of challenges and issues with porn. Like we just mentioned, it can be racist. As we've mentioned in other podcasts, it doesn't always support the model's mental, emotional health. Studios can take advantage of models, especially young models. It can shape the way that we connect with other men in negative ways, unrealistic expectations, so on, right? There's a lot of challenges. But like the other thing I also know is that you cannot wage war against porn. Like you're not going to stop it. Like does this website actually think that like we're somehow going to ban porn or stop that's not going to happen. For me, the answer is to change the narrative. Like it's to elevate porn. Like if you don't like the way porn is, then change it. If Mark thinks that porn is spreading lies, then for me the answer would be to create porn that spreads truth. And I agree that like when you look at traditional porn, that like gay men do deserve better, and so that's what I'm trying to do with Himeros TV. So I don't know. Like I hate Disney movies. Like I find them misogynistic. Right. I find them rapey a lot of the time.
Highly problematic. They are
highly rapey, puritanical. Like, but I'm not like, let's stop making movies. Like Disney ruined it. No more films. It's like, no, I'm going to support the films that share the values that I have. I don't know. What do you all think? I'm going to shut up. Chad, what do you think?
Yeah, Chad, what do you think? Go first.
Well, I don't know. Like, yeah, there's a lot of problematic parts about the industry and about promoting like certain things that might not necessarily be right, like how we talked about racism within it. But I don't think going against it is the necessary route, I guess, to fix it. I think a lot of times, like the way you fix it is like how you said, supporting the people within the community that are actually trying to change it, that are trying to bring like new light to a different way of looking at love and a new way of looking at people. I think his problems that he has with porn in the industry as a whole are really like self-reflective on like his own issues with it, and like maybe like how he mentioned with his family, like there's like familial issues. I think a lot of times that's like a back end thing. It's not necessarily because of porn, but he said that he like lied his way through it. And obviously if you're not being completely honest and truthful with anyone, the relationship's going to suffer.
Yeah. And he's in a position of power with like 67,000 Twitter followers that like, if he did want to like support the porn that is authentic, or that like if he wanted to create content, like he could do that. He's in that position. But it seems like he just went like complete Handmaid's Tale on it.
Yeah. I think to me, it's very similar to like, addressing, for instance, America's issues that we have with sex and like unwanted pregnancies and STIs and all that stuff, like addressing that through abstinence education instead of actually really dealing with like the disconnection that people have about sex from the get-go, like being born and being told not to touch your private parts, and you're not allowed to say the word sex. And it's like, well, of course there's all these fucking problems. So I think, blaming porn is, again, and it's going to sound like I'm on a broken record, but it's like, that's just fantasy. So what does the fantasy mean? Like, what does it mean? Like, what does it mean about us as people? This, of course, it's not real sex, but, like looking at it in that way, it opens up a whole world that's not so certain. And I think that's an important place to go. This thing that bothered me most about it is lust is a monster. Because what he said there, because I feel like, maybe for him, it's been that experience. Maybe he has reckless behaviors. I don't know, like what he's really trying to say. But lust is just, the expression of our animal natures. And I think if we're disconnected about that from the get-go as children, we're going to wreak havoc in our lives with our own lust. And I mean, we've all done that at some point. I mean, can't we say that we've like kind of wrecked a relationship or something? So it's, it's just a bigger context to me.
Yeah, because I mean, in our workshop that we're doing next week, one of the workshops is about lust, right? And like
cultivating
it. Yeah, how you can use it in a relationship, like harness that power.
Yeah, that's what it's like when you're horny and you're wanting to fuck or get fucked. It's like the lust, thing coming up and being mindful about what that means for us, and not like cutting it off or just like denying that we have it and then exploding later. It's like, it's being with that, cultivating it, making meaning out of it, because it's not going away. and the thing that he says, like, too, like, I will only speak truth from now on. I'm like, okay, I'm a little scared of you now, even more, like, no space for the true dishonesty that we feel as people, and our struggles, to be honest, I don't know.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what he meant when he said that porn like fantasizes real love. Like, um, I also think there's a trick, and I don't want to put like words into his mouth, but I do get that there is a trick that porn plays on people. Like Finn, like Chad, like we talk about porn a lot. Like we talk about in this podcast. I film it. Like we understand there's aspects of it that are, it's not real. We try to, I think, make the content that we film like as real as possible, but like when you watch a porn on Pornhub and like you can recognize like it's not 100% authentic. But I don't know that, like when you watch Avengers or like a horror film, it's not real. But I almost feel like porn, in the way that it's portrayed, it's not portraying itself as fake. Like we know it's fake because we talk about this stuff, but like it's presenting itself as real. And I guess to the extent that people like think this is what real sex is when they see like two guys on Helix Studios like bumping body parts together,
right?
Like that's how it can negatively affect people. I don't know.
Well, isn't that testimony to the massive amount of ignorance that we all have inherited about pleasure, connection with another person, what that looks like, what it's going to be like? So people are real vulnerable about that naturally because it sucks. But porn isn't the problem.
Isn't porn itself like, not only is it not a problem, it's like it's kind of neutral, and like there's aspects of porn I think that are really beneficial. Like if you're coming out to see people that are embracing their sexuality, to know that you're not alone. Like I think it could be, the way some people use porn is probably empowering, and there are aspects of it that are problematic, but like I like anything can be. You can get addicted to going to the gym, you can get addicted to food. Like food can be unhealthy for you. The answer isn't to be like, let's eliminate food, like I don't know.
Like people are letting porn hold the space of permission. It's like deny it in ourselves and let it be out there and those people, and then I'll just deny it until I'm like on my laptop and horny, and then like pull it up, and then put that back away again. But they're like, it is very helpful because I think personally that porn is holding a space for like permission and the parts of us that are true and need to be expressed.
Chad, how do you use porn? Like, when you were looking up porn today, was it just to like rub one out, or were you like, do you ever feel empowered by what you watch? Like, what's your relationship with porn? Tell us, we're listening.
Yeah. I guess porn's like a tool, it's like what purpose does it serve for you? Is it for empowerment? Is it just to whack one off? I think it's dependent on my mood once again.
What was your mood today?
Today was definitely, I was just horny, and I was just like, I'm stuck in Amherst. There's nobody here.
What did you type in?
I
usually Finn's like the perverted uncle.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I know.
That's what you watch.
It started off with big dick, Kyle's bubble butt, and then it just spiraled from there, and then I got to that juicy video.
Is that the one that put you over the edge?
Yeah. I was just scrolling through it, and once I hit like the BBC one, it just like all sort of like filtered out from there. But porn's just a tool for like what you seek out of it. I think a lot of times if I'm stuck, like let's say back home in Eastern Mass, like there's not a lot of diversity in my pool, so to speak, my grinder grid. And so sometimes I go on Pornhub as like a way of like meeting those needs, and I guess it just differs depending.
Interesting. I think for people, how do I use it?
Yeah.
Well, it depends, because I used to use it to jerk off, and I'm now on like, I don't even know, like 6 weeks of like not jerking off to porn, except for the couple times that I did, but I was standing up when that happened, so that didn't count because I was jerking off in a different way. Yeah. yeah, a lot of times I would use it as a way to jerk off so I could like focus on my work. But I still watch it even when I'm not jerking off to it. And like, I just enjoy the erotic energy that it builds in me. Like watching it makes me horny and like excited, and the anticipation. I think the stuff on Himeros, like a lot of it teaches me how to have better sex, like the video that we're going to discuss today. So there's like an educational component to me. And it's also for me to see guys doing something that I would find very difficult to do on a camera, which is just like take your clothes off, get like fully naked, connect with a person in the most like raw way. Like, I find that really inspiring. I'm inspired by the porn that I watch. And I think like for people that are listening, and like, if you recognize the problems that there are in porn and like you want more porn that is in alignment with what you believe, then like the best way for you to do that is to vote with your wallet by supporting the types of porn that you want to see more of. That's how it works. Maybe that's Himeros.tv. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my plug.
And with your own phones. Make videos with your phones.
Well, that's true. But also join Himeros.tv.
But also subscribe to Himeros.
Yeah.
So I've also been going through a lot of the applications for our upcoming tantric retreat in September for non-porn stars, just for regular people out there across the country that are really excited to explore their sexuality. And the application deadline was May 15th. So if you missed it, you missed it. But I've been going through them with Brad Amberhart, and we assigned a score to each application based on criteria like thoughtfulness and like thoughtfulness of the responses, quality of the answers, diversity, special talents. And so everyone gets like a score at the end. And Matt, who's usually on the podcast as a co-host, he was like, I really hope, he's like, this sounds really interesting. I hope you guys are filming this whole process. And I was like, oh, yeah, we're not. And that's a good point. So now we are. The good news is that we're going to make a YouTube documentary about the entire retreat. It'll probably just be one like long video about the whole process from start to finish. So you guys will be able to see that in probably won't come out till October. So mark your calendars and get ready for that.
It's a nail biter.
It's a nail biter. Let's talk about this week's video called Fuck Me With Your Whole Body, featuring Norm Self and Brad Amberhart. You guys can watch a free preview at himeros.tv. To recap, Norm is 84 years old. We've worked with him a few times, and basically this video shows how to engage with someone sexually using your entire body and not just the usual suspects of ass, cock, and mouth. There's a quote in the video that I love, which says, "Good sex happens with your cock. Great sex happens with your entire body," or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's an instructional video featuring two men with roughly 100 years, centuries worth of sexual experience between them. And it looks a little bit like an erotic IKEA advertisement with that. the backdrop. We filmed it in Amsterdam, so it was close to Sweden. Chad, did you recognize the bed in the video?
Yeah, I did. We stayed there, right?
That was our bed. Yeah, they fucked in our bed.
Yeah. Before or after?
I don't remember. I mean, you left halfway through the retreat because you had to go back, but or through the filming project. Does that gross you out? Like, would you sleep in a bed that people banged in? Because you may have. You may have.
I think I would. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we definitely actually have.
Yeah. Does it gross you out, Finn?
No. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on who. I mean, because for me, like I want to sleep in the bed that maybe somebody's banged in if it was somebody that I wanted to be closer in proximity to that way.
You're a little resident piglet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you could like smell it on the sheets and
See, that makes me
Soak in
not
it
want to do it. Just marinate in the juices.
yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, because then it's like, yeah, it's like how close can I get to this guy without being, if I wasn't really actually invited into the situation.
I'm weird about a lot of things, but like
Mhm.
okay.
I'm like preach on that.
Are you about
But
to shame me for smells again?
no. I was just gonna say, but for whatever reason, like sleeping in the juices that someone that doesn't bother me, doesn't gross me out. Because we've definitely had crew who have been like, I don't want anything filmed in my bed that I'm gonna be sleeping in, and I'm like, really? So what did you guys think of the video, Chad? What do you think?
I thought it was really empowering. I loved the like deep rooted connection that they shared, and I think especially for an audience of like my age, it was really like energetic and really refreshing to see a different way to interact with someone and share like an experience that isn't necessarily penetrative. Um, and like using your whole body, I think a lot of times the porn that I see is less expressive um than that is, and it's really, yeah, I really found it to be like refreshing to see something that was completely outside of my bounds that I typically interact with or I typically witness. Yeah, it was really beautiful. It was well shot too. Looked like an IKEA commercial. That was so funny.
I feel like the sex that I mean, it's funny that you say that because I feel like the sex that we have is more kind of like whole body focused. Like we do fuck, but spoiler alert. But we also, I think, connect like in a lot of other different ways. Like, like like that don't just
No,
involve
totally
fucking.
great. Yeah,
So,
definitely. We have a really fun and creative and explorative way of going about it too. Chirp, chirp.
What are you gonna say, Finn?
well, I was really enjoying you guys talking about that, and I was wondering for both of you, like, has your experience of sex in general, and then also with each other, been influenced by being a part of the Himeros project? I mean, it's an extension of you.
Yeah, has it, Chad?
I'd say so. I just, from meeting you alone, I think my perception of sex and interacting with someone in like a sexual way has been completely transformed. And also, you caught me at like a very critical part of my journey. I wasn't quite out yet.
Mm.
And definitely with that came like the traditional like DL kind of mindset, and with that comes a less creative form of sex.
Mhm.
It was pretty like generic. It was like I go in, I have sex with someone, and I'm like immediately like embarrassed or shy or whatever it was that would like cause me to jump out of the bed and run back to my room. But
Mhm.
as I've like come to and I've been on like these shoots and meeting like really empowering people and also having a way more diverse um sexual intimacy, I guess I'd say, with Dave, it's definitely transformed like how I view sex and my interactions too.
Mm.
Did you, because to me, like you have so little, if any, like I never perceive like shame in the way that you interact sexually. So it's interesting to hear you say that like that was a part of your life. Um,
Yeah,
like
it definitely was. I think it was before I met you. Um,
okay.
yeah, like a year or two before, I used to just be like so embarrassed about it and like kept it under wraps, even if I like had like people I could talk to about it. It was still like I think it's just a part of the journey. At
How
least for
did you
me,
get
it
over it
was.
so quick though? Because I mean, like you're 21 now, and like there's people who are spend their entire lifetime trying to get over that shame.
Yeah, I mean, I just found like the passion in it. Like I started to enjoy it and I separated shame by, I think it's like when you reach that point of accepting yourself and you're no longer fighting it,
Mhm.
you're finally starting to embrace like who you are and what you are. I think it was around the same time I started like shifting my friend dynamic to people who were more like warm and friendly and accepting and loving and like nurturing. And that tied in with like my own self exploration, really like helped push me away from shame and like really rejoice in the sex that I was having and really like embrace it fully.
Yeah, Finn, you must see that a lot in people that you work with, like that shame, like it can take people decades, right, to try to process that.
Yeah, totally. And that it's an ongoing process too, you know, like things can kind of rise and fall and come back. And I mean, I think that's just true with everything in life. Sometimes we feel really great, sometimes we don't. But I have seen people move through it and experience what Chad, you're just describing, like this sense of community around you. So it's not this isolated little thing that you have to go do and then come back to life kind of, but like having this sense of like being accepted and also connecting with men in a variety of ways that include sexuality. It's just like, oh God, this is what it's supposed to be like.
Totally.
Yeah.
So something I do want to mention that seems very obvious in hindsight is that, you know, this video it's older guys having sex, and we've at this point worked with a number of older men, and these guys have, you know, decades and decades of sexual experience, and they have all this wisdom and knowledge about their bodies and other people's bodies. And I've been working kind of as a complimentary like project, a YouTube video that features older men talking about sex and like sharing what they've learned. And the idea is like to show older people as sexual, but also to get some of their wisdom to make it applicable for young people. And my criteria for the video is basically just, if you're an older guy and you're having gay sex, then, you know, I want to interview you. And what I've discovered is, and Finn, this is probably something that you're more clued into, is that there are many older men, just like there are a lot of younger guys who like are really stuck on their sexual journeys. Like they're really like, I just made this assumption that because they're older, that they've like evolved and they've learned all this stuff. And I'm very clearly made that assumption wrongly. That there's like this definite correlation between age and sexual wisdom. And I think there can be, like if you've done the work and asked the questions, and but it never really occurred to me that there were plenty of like older men who have never been consciously touched in their entire lives or asked themselves deeper questions about sex and sexuality. And a lot of older guys are kind of like almost like stuck in their sexual adolescence. For probably for a number of reasons too. Like if they had a religious upbringing, or they were married to a woman, you know, they're coming out of a straight relationship, or came out later in life. Like there's plenty of things that I think can kind of stunt your sexual journey. And I was just kind of shocked at where a lot of these guys were at.
Their experiences have been so different than what we've all had available to us. And I mean, I'm fascinated by that too, like the generational span, like even now, like what Chad might be experiencing in community versus what I did versus what men that are over 50 went through. And talking with guys from that era, it's been really just it touches my heart a lot to think like what they went through is in extreme isolation, and like being able to band into little enclaves of people to really get their needs met, to feel safe. But other than that, feel like life is a hazard for me, you know? And then even after that, then AIDS ravaging the community. So it's like a war-torn spirit. And I think that has a lot to do with it.
It's easy for Chad to be where Chad's at now because because of the world that we live in, like where we can talk about sex and sexuality on a podcast and like have friends that support you. But if 60 years ago you had none of that and you're trying to do this all in a vacuum, like what the hell, how? I'm only on the sexual journey because of the content that I make. And like there was a point in time where you could be arrested for filming the videos that I film for Himeros. So
And then to add on top of it, I think about this. This is my own. I'm interjecting this into it. This hasn't really been told me, but like then to be losing youth and all the things that our culture says or what are going to buy you sex, then maybe you did struggle for most of your life to come out, and then you're an older man, and then on top of that, you're losing what everybody says is going to get you sex and acceptance, and it's got to feel like a lot of pressure. So I'm really glad that these conversations are being had and that there's being more space made for older men.
All right, let's answer some questions from folks at home. If you guys have any questions, send them to Davey at daveywavey.tv. Chad, do you have the questions in front of you by chance? Or handy?
I do.
If you want to read question number one. Sick of hearing my own fucking voice, yeah.
Okay, first off, my English isn't the best, but I will do my very best so you guys can understand what I want to say. I had my coming out last summer. It felt great and I don't regret it. I went on several gay apps to get in contact with other gay men, and after what felt like an eternity, I met one of the most wonderful guys I've ever met in my whole life. We talked for over 3 months on social media before I allowed him to meet me at a restaurant. We met, got to know each other, and for me it was love at first sight. We met up at his apartment 3 times in 2 months, and I just felt free, finally being able to be myself with someone else. Not being forced to wear a mask when I'm outside my house. Spending time with him was so magical because all problems of my private life were gone once I entered his apartment. He was quite busy because of his job, but we still talked on the phone or texted. But then suddenly after Easter this year, he sent me a text message explaining that he doesn't have the same feelings for me, or that his feelings haven't grown as much as mine did. It felt great. It felt like someone has ripped my heart out of my chest and pushed a knife into it. I vomited for several hours and cried for 5 days. We still text every now and then, but he answers less and less. So the question is, do you have any advice on how to get over him and move on? Since I still miss him, or better, these hours of being free and not have to worry about anything. Should I reach out to him and maybe ask for being friends with benefits? Yours truly, Mr. Broken Heart.
I bet Finn feels a lot of compassion.
I do, and I also think, wow, like really impacting situation on you. It's really, really hit you at a deep core level.
I'm such a cynical, jaded bitch, though, because I'm like, man, this is the experience that many gay people have, is that you're the first person like that you connect with, you develop these intense feelings for, and I think it's amplified when you're gay for the reasons that this person really put their finger on, which is, I think a lot of what the attraction is not just to the person, but that feeling of I get to be myself around this person. And if that's the first time that you felt that, like that really does feel special. I think what's important to remember is that you can get that with other people. And there will be many, many men in your life who, you will be able to be free with and to express who you are and to be authentic with. And that though this was the first time it happened, it certainly won't be the last. And, I think the question here is like, do you ask to be friends with benefits for him? Like, let's not cry over spilled milk. Like, let's find someone else that's, giving you energy and effort, and that's, maybe able to give you more of what it is that you want.
Yeah, start over. And I second what you say too, like this, instead of thinking like this experience with him, like all of this was accessible through him, it's like, this is an experience of yourself that you had of being free and open and uninhibited. That's you. So you get to practice that, just grieve over the loss of what it feels like to not be met now. But don't just throw it all out the window and think that that's not you too, because you have that in yourself and you will find that again if you're open to it.
Beautiful.
Totally. Yeah. It's not an isolated thing. There are a ton of people out there for you.
All right. Question number 2.
Question 2.
Yep.
Ready?
I'm ready.
My boyfriend and I barely have sex, and when we do, it's because I mention it and he gives in. I top and he bottoms, but he finishes first and then doesn't want me to continue because he no longer feels good. He doesn't suck dick or jerk me off. I literally fuck him and suck him, and then he comes, and that's it. And then I'm on my own. Is this right? Am I wrong to think he's selfish when it comes to sex? What am I supposed to do? I don't want an open relationship, and he says he loves me.
Mm.
Hmm.
Oh, sounds really painful. It does. I think, this question is this right? That stands out to me. I don't like the word right, but we will say obviously it's not okay for you. Like, you're not
It's not
happy.
working.
Right? You're not happy about this. So, is he selfish when it comes to sex? He's not giving you what you're needing. So maybe needing to, if you really want to be with him, learning how to talk about your desires with each other, and definitely need to open up a conversation about it. He's not being what would be called sexually generous in this way, and you're not, getting what you're wanting. So you got to do something about that, or this will implode.
Yeah. I mean, that's my question is like, have you had a conversation? Have you guys communicated about this? Like, it's obviously not working for you. Like, have you expressed that to him? And I mean, like from a technical perspective, if after he comes, he's no longer interested in like having sex with you, then don't let the fucker come. like
Right?
there's like
That's
Edge
there's
him.
little technical parts, right? Like you could do to change up the dynamic, but it sounds like there's deeper issues.
Yeah, totally.
There's deeper issues here.
Totally.
So,
Lots of them.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Any advice, Chad?
Not too many
Yeah.
issues that can't be, talked through if you both are committed to that. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's all about communication, like communicating your needs and what you want from your partner and what you're willing to give. I think that's really the disconnect there. I don't think it's not about being selfish, or it may come across as selfish, but I think that's just like the surface level of like a much bigger issue. I think there are definitely people who have like different sexual intensity, I guess. We talked about this a couple times, me and Dave, about like certain levels of like someone needs sex more often or less frequently, and like a dynamic like that is definitely something that you'd have to like talk through and figure out. But coming from the perspective of like he comes and then he's done with you, that can be really hurtful, that could be really intense for him. So I think the best advice is just communicate about what you want from the relationship, what you're willing to give.
Yeah, and it's probably, I think there's an opportunity here for them to explore other ways of having sex that aren't just sucking dick and fucking, like ways to be intimate and connected and to explore each other's bodies. So it doesn't just have to be this like one particular thing that you guys do over and over again, because like, especially as one who does tend to enjoy bottoming, like it's a fuck ton of work to bottom and get fucked. And like, there's times where I'm definitely like, oh, like I don't want to bottom. Right. And then there's an opportunity there to be like, all right, well, like we're horny or you are needing connection. Like, let's figure out ways that we can do this that don't involve me having to go to the bathroom for 15 minutes and like douche my hole out,
Yeah.
So I'm curious, Chad, though, when you said that when people have a mismatched like need for sex, do you think that you have need for sex more than me, or that I have more of a need for sex than you? Or are we equal?
I'd say the balance isn't too far off, but I feel like I don't need sex as much, but I don't know. It's like the things that drive me, like, I don't know. Sometimes I get more out of like cuddling up with you than from like, or what I desire is like to just snuggle up in that big bodacious chest of yours, and it's less about it's less about like this like sexual intensity that needs to like be fulfilled with coming, and more about just like expressing my love through holding you or being held.
Aw, isn't he cute? I also feel like you need sex more than me, but side note, okay, but
okay. I was waiting for the other side of that.
Yeah.
But all relationships have a dance around this. It's like it's a power struggle at some point over who's holding the sex more. And it can become quite a dance, actually.
What is it what's the dynamic in your relationship?
You know what? It kind of, in my relationship, I feel like we have different kinds of, like, I feel like I seek intensity sexually inside my relationship a lot. And I think sometimes that can be a lot for my partner, like, you know, the intensity that I can bring. And then if I kind of pull back a little bit, he kind of comes forward towards me more. And so I think that I actually have more desire for sex. I think it's just how I express things in ways that he doesn't. And he said something similar to me before that Chad said, like, well, you know, well, why can't we just cuddle? Or, you know, like, that's really what's up for me. And I'm just like, oh, how can that be up for you? Like, you know, all the things that I want to do right now. But it is kind of, I have noticed in the life of our relationship, it is kind of a movement. It kind of depends on how close we're feeling with each other at the time. And, you know, if I come really strong at him, he can kind of pull back a little bit. And then whenever I'm a little more distant, then he really wants me. So it's just like navigating all of that.
So if I want to get fucked, the best way for me to do that with Chad is to seem like I'm making my ass unavailable.
Well, I guess it depends if that really turns Chad on or if that really like shuts him down. You know,
Gonna play hard to get.
I think with my partner, he gets really turned on whenever I'm not around. If there's not this obstacle to get back to me, you know, like when he's away from me on a trip, when I can't actually have sex with him, then he's wanting me like so bad. I'm like, well, you know, but now I can't be near you. So it does add the intensity though. It's longing.
Yeah. Anticipation increases intensity.
It does. Yeah.
Well, let's save question number 3, which isn't even a question, for another time and another day, since we're coming up on the hour here. Next week, we are going to talk about a video titled Pull Switch. And Chad, I think we're doing next week's, we're doing it on Wednesday next week. So you'll be here in Palm Springs. So maybe we can share the same mic. 2 mouths, 1 mic.
Yeah. Kissing each other with a mic in between.
Yeah.
And I think Matt is not here next week, but he will be the week after, I think is the way it's going down. So I think that's everything. Oh, and in Pull Switch, there's something very unexpected that's going to happen. Did I mention that?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, you're not ready.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're just not ready. So, Finn, where can people find more of you?
FinnDeerhart.com, FinnDeerhart.com.
And Chad, where can people find more of you?
They can check me out on Instagram. It's Chad_Remy, REMY.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. And as always, more to come.